Hey guys, what's up? Mob here. I just got finished watching the very first two episodes of the One Piece live action adaptation, and I'm going to review them here. I'm going to give you my reaction, my rating. So remember, I have not seen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 yet. I want to kind of piece it out. So this first episode will be the first two, and then the next episode will be 2, 2, 2, and so on. If you're watching this on the main YouTube, hey, what's up? I'm launching a new channel called Mobby Media. If you're watching on the Mobby Media channel, also welcome. This is my first ever video, and the plan here on this channel is to review shows, movies, anime, old school horror, anything at all. So if you guys have any suggestions of things you would like me to cover, let me know. But let's go ahead and get started with something very big, near and dear to me. One Piece. This IP is amazing. Okay, so before we jump into the episode 1 and 2 review, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory of my One Piece sort of interaction, my perspective, so you can see where I'm coming from. So I guess you can I would call myself an active One Piece enjoyer. I've been watching the anime for over a decade, currently in the Big Mom arc. I've watched up to the time skip at least 2 times. I watched it on my own back in high school, and then 8 or 9 years ago, I rewatched it with my fiance, and she has reread the manga, and she read like 100 chapters in one night, like yesterday to prepare for this thing. So everything is fresh in her mind as we're watching this. I played a lot of the video games. Shout out to the GBA platformer. That's a good hidden gem. And I'm currently playing a lot and collecting a lot of the One Piece trading card games. So yes, I freaking love One Piece. I'm trying to go into this as non-biased as possible, but it's kind of hard when this is an IP that you really love. So as mentioned, we're gonna review 2 episodes here, and then I'm gonna go watch 2 more, and then do another video on 2 more, because I kind of want to give you guys an archival of my journey watching the whole thing without doing the whole thing, because I don't want to fit 8 episodes into one thing. It would be a little too much. So I'm going to be giving you a quick overview, noteworthy mentions, and then a rating for each episode. So yeah, let's get started with the very first episode. I'm watching it with an English dub, and after the whole season's over, after I finish watching it, I might go back and watch it in Japanese. Okay, so it starts with the Gold Roger line, and then you can see the execution there. Garp, Luffy's I guess freaking spoilers, right? Spoilers if you don't know. Yeah, this will have spoilers because I will actually try to connect a little bit things from the manga to the anime to here. So yeah, Garp is Luffy's grandfather, and he's there executing him. So that's a little bit of a weird change. In the audience watching, you get to see like Mihawk and Shanks and some other things. Then it cuts to Luffy. This is my very first impression. I think it's great casting, a lot of good lines. I chuckled really hard the first time when he did the Gomu Gomu pistol and knocked Alvida off the damn ship. It was pretty cool. First impressions for Shanks, pretty cool. I like the actor a lot. I think it looks perfectly fine. Just good overall. Okay, so it starts with the Luffy on his little dinghy, after leaving his town, trying to become a pirate. Then he ends up getting on Alvida's ship after it sort of sinks. He meets Kobe here, and then this is the fat Alvida version, right? So Kobe gets introduced. I think it's a good cast for that. He's got those gigantic, large, comical sort of glasses. And then it kind of moves over to Luffy's backstory, and the backstory here it kind of goes through 2 episodes, which is kind of nice. Kind of piece it out. So it's him with Shanks, but basically I kind of wish this Shanks here had a little more tension and easygoing at the same time. I have really fond memories of being of that one scene where the mountain pirates are actually making a lot of ruckus, and then Shanks gets knocked over to the bar, and they pour the liquor over his head, and then the bandits walk out. Everything is super tension, really quiet, and then all of a sudden, boom, it gets cut with laughter. Everyone's having fun, and that's when Luffy starts to really get pissed off, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, why are you doing this? You're a pirate. You're a man. Why are you letting him do this? In the live action version, basically, he picked up a broom, swept it, and then the mountain pirates quickly left. And then the crew made fun of Shanks, and then that was it. It didn't feel like it had enough of a pause, much of a like, oh, is Shanks gonna fight back because he is a pirate? It was more like he was happy-go-lucky the whole time. But I think they should have showed more of a serious, or at least a faux serious version from what I remember. Okay, so after that, we get Zoro's first impression. He gets approached by the number 7, a Baroque's member, to be a part of it, and then he ends up killing him, cutting him in half. Pretty cool. I like the portrayal here of Zoro. Obviously, this Zoro is extremely sarcastic, but he's very stoic, and he goes along with it. You can see he's a good guy early on, as he eats the really gross rice ball chocolates that the little girl made, and then it was stepped on by Helmeppo, and then, all that good stuff. And then it goes to Nami. Now, this is interesting because Nami is here as well. And, God, it's been forever since I've seen the first arc anime, but I don't think they intersect that early. But anyway, Nami okay, so Zoro gets in a fight with Helmeppo. And then Axe Morgan, who is Helmeppo's father, is all like, okay, join us, or whatever, be a prisoner for 7 days for hurting my son. And then Zoro's like, okay, I'll be a prisoner. But then he ends up realizing, okay, they're probably not going to let me go, which sucks. So then he's stuck at the Marine base. Luffy and Kobe go to the Marine base because Luffy wants to become a pirate, so he needs to go to the Grand Line, so he wants to steal a map. Nami needs that map. We don't know for the particular reason yet. I mean, we know if you know the story, you know exactly why she wants it and who she wants to give it to. So they all end up intersecting there. You meet Axe Morgan. The Marine pirate base looks pretty cool. So Zoro's tied up, and they're going through Axe Morgan's sort of safe. Axe Morgan figures out, hey, the pirates have infiltrated, so they get the safe, they knock it out the window, and then they're in the pirate yard, and this is where the gigantic fight happens. Pretty good fight here. We're seeing a lot of Nami being pretty decent with the bow staff. In the anime, she's primarily like her and Chopper. For them and Usopp, for the most part, they just let everyone else do the fighting. But here they want to make Nami, she's a thief right now, and then later on she becomes she still has those skills later, but she becomes more of just the straight navigator and using like her special weather powers. But here, they're showing her off like, hey, she's a scrappy person as well. So I like that little transition there. Okay, so yeah, so after that, that's it for episode 1. They tease at the end Garp trying to find, going to the Marine base to see what's going on. And then they also tease Buggy. Yes, Buggy, who is looking for the map that he was planning to steal from Morgan. So really, really interesting episode. So if you are a fan of the IP, the anime, the manga, you know every single character, you know all the Easter eggs popping up, like the people in the audience, like I mentioned, when they looked at the wall of all the wanted dead or alive, you saw like Foxy, Bellamy and stuff like that. And also, one really nice one I really loved is they had a background song for Binks Sake during one of the flashbacks, so that was really nice to hear. So for fans of the anime, this is probably one of the best adaptations I've seen. I think Netflix is putting almost everything into this, all their eggs in this basket, and I think they did a really good job. This first episode, great showing. It's good. It's really, really good. However, I don't know how this is going to be received by newcomers, not only to newcomers to anime or newcomers to One Piece in general. So if I would say this is great, amazing for One Piece fans, lots of changes, they have to condense everything because it's only 8 episodes and they have to condense so much, so a lot of stuff is skipped out, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It's a realistic situation of it. CGI was decent. It's a little out of place, absolutely, not gonna lie, and you can tell like what's a set, what's not. But, if you're not looking for that, you're just there for enjoying the story and riding along the fun and campiness, you're going to have a good time. Once again, for anime fans in general, this is probably one of the best ones. If you haven't seen One Piece but you like anime, watch this for sure, because this should be the standard going forward. Though, it's a little unrealistic to say, because Netflix pour like millions and millions into each episode, I do know that. But what if you have not seen One Piece at all, and you're not a anime enjoyer at all? Is this going to appeal to you? I think they did a good job making this show where, yeah, there's a ton of characters, there's a ton of thread, plot lines, Easter eggs that's going to be thrown at you. But I think you can still just enjoy it because the performances are there. And yeah, there's a lot of crap being thrown at you, but overall, in the first episode, there's like 3 characters you're essentially following, and then, it ties it up nicely. So as I watched first and second episode, And it feels like they're having a really good arc in each one. It's kind of it's the first one ends up with introduction, storyline, blah blah blah, and then a fight. That's the first one, and that's the second one. We'll see how the third one and fourth goes when they introduce Usopp, Sanji, and then where are they gonna go from there. So pretty excited. I would say I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. Loved it for all the reasons I said. Yeah, there's a ton going on. There's a ton going on. All right, let's move over to episode 2. All right, this one starts with more of a Luffy backstory with Shanks. In the first episode, it did not completely cover, who Shanks is to Luffy. Why did he give him the head? In this episode, it covers all that. It gives you more lore in the Devil Fruits. It gives everyone the information like, hey, you can't swim, blah blah blah, and just prepping more of that stuff. Okay, it cuts to the stolen boat. You get more crew banter. Really like this a lot. There's only 3 of them, so they have to work together. They have to have the chemistry, and I think that it's doing really well. They opened up the safe. The Grand Line is now explained, which is very nice. They have this little diagram that she shows, and then boom, they get kidnapped by Buggy. This is a little bit of a twist in how they actually interact with Buggy as opposed to the anime and stuff. So they have a gigantic firework. They look outside, but no, it's a knockout smoke, freaking sleeping gas. So they all get kidnapped and they're taken into Buggy's circus. I did not know where this was. I was like, oh my god, Buggy's ship. He's going to have this really cool, like tense arena like a circus. But it ended up, Nami escapes very briefly, and then she sees the whole gigantic town, which is supposed to be a lot of backstory, a lot of characters in that town, but she sees it's destroyed. Everything in this episode, so Buggy in the town, it's all condensed just into the Buggy circus thing, which is fine for this episode. It did what it needed to do. So they have a great entrance, amazing actor for Buggy, amazing actor. All those lines were delivered perfectly. The makeup looks amazing. He's funny. He's threatening. I think this is going to be a standout character. People are going to love this guy. I don't know. I haven't seen any of his other work. I think one of his most famous works was he was in Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I have not seen. But yeah, it looks good. So as the town is destroyed, all the prisoners, the townsfolk, are in here, and they're tied up, and they're basically being forced to, just sit there and applause and look at all of Buggy's stupid antics. Now we cut back to Morgan's base. Kobe has now enlisted as a Marine. It is his first day. Helm Eppo has his new hair that Zora cut off from the last episode. It's so funny. This is how, he's going to have his hair for the rest of the season, which is sick. And then Garp arrives. Now we move back to Buggy Circus. Luffy ends up getting tortured for the map. Oh yeah, before they got kidnapped, because Buggy wanted the map. Luffy ate it. He put it in his stomach. I think it was really funny they did that. So yeah, they have all his legs and arms being stretched out, and then he's just laughing. He's like, whatever, you can do what you want. And then he sees the hats. Buggy sees the hat, and then he teases a little bit of history on, who Shanks is to him, etc. I think it's really, really interesting how, like, a lot of the stuff you see way late in the anime, like, oh, Garp, meeting Luffy, blah, blah, blah. I hope Garp's definitely going to be Luffy in the season. Well, why would they allude to that if nothing happens there, right? But yeah, a lot of those threads are just being thrown in now, which is kind of good because the anime and manga was made over 20 years ago. So, I'm not sure how much Oda exactly has input of how it's structured, but I'm sure that the showrunner himself knows, like, hey, these are important. So let's just go ahead and, this is going to be a thing. We might as well throw little threads here now, which is completely fine. Okay, so yeah, they tease the Shanks history, and then the Chop Chop fruit gets revealed. Once again, it's CGI. Say what you will. I think they did a fun job here. It's so freaking funny. It's so funny. Okay, and then we go back to Garp, back at the Marine base of Axe Morgan. He's interrogating Kobe, and then Kobe's like, oh yeah, I'm telling the truth. I want to be a Marine. I'm gonna follow my dream because Luffy, blah blah blah. He's like, Luffy, huh? Okay, we're going to look for Luffy, but you're with me. Now, if you don't know what the hell's going on, you're like, oh, man, Garp's a bad guy. Uh-oh. But we all know what's going on here. It's funny. Unless they really make him into a bad guy, then that's a twist for anime enjoyers, too. Okay, so after that, we go back to the Luffy flashback. The mountain pirates have come back to the damn bar. They wanted a drink, and then they end up fighting because they threatened Luffy. And this is where they show a little bit more of Shanks' serious side. You can threaten me all you want. You can pour liquor over my head, but don't threaten my friends. A really cool line. Then they get to a fight. Here you can see Yasopp, which is Usopp's father. It's Yasopp because, he's a freaking bandanas that says Yasop. That's a little bit of overkill. But then maybe, once again, they might mention Yasop, and then people who don't know might go back and be like, oh, that was the dad. So it could be a nice reveal for them. And then that big fat guy who eats the meat and has the goggles on. That guy's cool. He's just beating the mountain pirates up. But in the midst of everything, they end up losing sight of Luffy. He gets taken by the mountain bandits, and then we'll go back to there later. Okay, so now back to Buggy's circus. Oh wait, no, before they do that, it's more of the flashback, I think. So, just like in the anime and manga, the mountain bandit took Luffy out to sea on a little dinghy, and he plans to kill him, ransom him, whatever. But then he ends up getting eaten or killed by a gigantic sea king. Luffy falls in the water, but him, eating the devil fruit, he can't swim. So Shanks, it doesn't even explain how he gets out there, but he got out there, picks him up, they go in the diggy. Then the big sea king, shows up again, and then he just bites and chomps at Shanks. Shanks looks back and tells him, hey, go away. Now at this point, I don't know if this was hockey, like his Emperor's hockey, controlling to animals or whatever, be like, hey, go away, or if Shanks is just that intimidating. I don't know exactly. Maybe someone can let me know which one of those two was the thing. But then his arm gets bit off before he talked to him, and then it's not revealed until after he tells him to go away, and then this is a little bit of a tiny emotional moment where Luffy goes, oh, Shanks, your arm, my fault, blah, blah, blah. Now, I feel like in the live action, they did not do this part specifically enough justice, at least from what I remember. This one had more of a gigantic impact. They're in the boat, blah, blah, blah. But when you are in the anime and manga, they're floating in the water, so it's much more impactful, and they kind of glossed it over, like really quick, like, oh, it's just an arm, Luffy, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. Just like what I feel like when it's a small part. But when Shanks had that liquor poured over him for the mountain bandits, and they walked away, and then boom, the tension got cut by just them laughing at the end. That was kind of brushed over. This one felt a little brushed over too. The dramatic moment is there, and this is one of the things where I just am hoping that they do much more in depth later, which One Piece is great for the characters, the campy moments, the comedy, everything, right? The action. But more importantly, I think for me personally, I love these dramatic moments that have an impact, that just make you remember everything. Luffy's backstory, Zoro's backstory, Robin's backstory, Frankie's backstory. All of these dramatic moments, it just, stays with me. And this was one of them for Luffy, Boom, his arm got taken off because Luffy, you're so selfish. But then you learn the lesson, So he has a little bit of a brush over here. Okay, now back to Buggy's circus. They end up fighting. Nami and Zoro escape. And then they take Luffy, who was being sort of tortured inside of a sea salt sort of box that you kind of escape from, like magicians. So yeah. They defeat him by putting his limbs in crates, which is a cool idea. I just felt like they could have illustrated it a little bit better. Luffy's like, Nami, the crates. So then, they knock like his foot into a box and then they close it. I feel like that box wasn't closed, or she puts it over a little bit of a barrel. That barrel wasn't closed. Like, Buggy's not pretty strong. He could like get out of that. I feel like they could have made it more of a point where they put it on and then she like puts something heavy on it or locks it or something like that. It was a little too comedic right there, but it's the way that they defeated him. And then I love how they did this. Buggy now is only with the head, the hands, and the feet. And then Luffy does, for the first time in the live action, he does bazooka and knocks him out. Now we go back to Luffy's backstory, and I did complain a little bit how it wasn't dramatic during that portion, wasn't dramatic during the his arm got cut off. But when he leaves, he's like, okay, we're not gonna come back, Luffy, but you learned a great lesson. And then Luffy's like, yeah, I'm gonna have my own crew, we're gonna be better than you, of course, I'm gonna take care of them, I'll always have their back, they're gonna have my back, thank you for the lesson. He gives them the hat. Luffy ends up tearing, crying. And then that was probably the best moment in the 2 episodes, for sure, where it wraps that up. So that's good they did that. At least they wrapped it up well enough. So there you go. That's a good backstory for Luffy, so everyone knows. Okay, now let's see. We go back to, okay, so the town, it's interesting in this, like you can tell like a lot of the angles, like it's looking upwards towards the crew and upwards towards the town folks after they are celebrating, like, hey, you guys saved our town. They're really trying their hardest not to show the town and how it's messed up. They only showed one shot of the town being destroyed, and then that was that. And then of course, all of the budget goes into everything else. They don't have to really go in depth from all that, but it would have been nice to have a little bit of Easter eggs, at least for like the mayor of that town, his Chow Chow's little dog. There was a little dog running around there, but it was a different breed, so I don't think it was supposed to be like the Chow Chow dog. But that was a really cool moment in the anime, and I wish there would have been a little bit of an Easter egg there, like the mayor just calls over and be like, "Oh, I missed you, boy." Like that would have been really sweet. I would have loved that a lot. But yeah. And then we go back to the Marine. It's a lot of cutting back and forth, which is nice. It changes up the pace a lot for sure. So back to the Marine base. Garp tied up Morgan. Now this is weird. So we know he gets tied up for sure for being insubordination and sort of and like all that stuff. But in the show, in the Netflix show, they don't really go over that too much. They give little drops, hints in there, like, oh, he's a liar. He hasn't been truthful with us, and then he gets tied up. They didn't explain it too well there, so I hope people are not confused of why they tied up Morgan and he's going to go to jail, etc. But Garp's like, hey, we're going to go after these freaking pirates. I'm going to recruit everyone here, including Kobe and Helm Eppo, which is kind of cool. Then the episode ends with them on the boat. Everyone's happy, nice, but then Nami goes into the back, into the room there. She picks up a little transponder snail, like a headset, right? And then she's like, I got the map. I'm coming over, and then it's like, who is this? We know who it is, but then the audience doesn't even get a glimpse. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's the episode. And okay, so the first episode I gave a 9 out of 10. This one here, I would say it's on the same level. It really is on the same level in terms of Easter eggs, in terms of hype, in terms of story, in terms of dramatic moments. It's just on the same level. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well. And I think it's supposed to be because a lot of the previews of the show being announced here, the leading up to it, there was lots of 2-episode premieres that they showed in theaters where like Oda showed up, really cool things all around the world. So they need these 2 episodes to be really well mishmashed together. So if you watch these 2 back to back, you get a full, Luffy story, which is kind of nice. And of course, a little bit more threads going on. So I expected these 2 to be pretty good. Now I'm going to go finish this episode, end it here, and we'll watch 3, 4, come back, and we'll do another episode. But yeah, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. As mentioned before, great for One Piece fans, pretty decent for anime fans, and I think they did a good job if you go into this thinking it's a pirate fantasy story for non-anime fans. So I think they did a good job there. So that's it. If you guys enjoyed, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Once again, if you're watching on the main YouTube, head on over to MabiVsGames. This is where I'm going to be uploading episode 2, 3, and so on. And if you are here watching on MabiVsGames, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a really fun hobby channel where I just sit down, talk about, and review anything anime, movies, blah, blah, blah. So thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.